Hey everybody, I was on the live stream for the first Indian podcast on Pieces of Work's channel. The stream was a little bit choppy, but we had a lot of fun, and I had recorded it from my end just so that I would have a backup. But when we were done, I thought it turned out pretty good, and I sent it over to Corey from Pieces of Work and also to Jimmy from JimmyCage, and we're all going to upload it on our own channels. Corey said, yeah, upload it. I don't care if it's uploaded 3 times. So here is the podcast that we were all a part of. If you're not already, go subscribe to Pieces of Work and JimmyCage. We had a lot of fun. Also, the audio version of this is going to be on my SoundCloud, so check that out. Without further ado, here is the first episode of the podcast on Pieces of Work's YouTube channel.
Okay, looks like we are live. Hello, everyone. This is the very first Indian Cinema podcast. Thank you so much, whoever's watching live now and whoever will watch this afterwards. Today, I have JimmyCage. Jimmy.
Hi, everybody. So my name is JimmyCage.
I'm Dennis the Bodymaster here.
And we have a YouTube channel called JimmyCage where we review Indian movies. We do one review each week. And yeah, we are from Germany originally, and now we're living in Vienna, Austria. So we will try to speak English as fluently as we can.
Nice. And with me, Matt from Koricon Nala.
Hello! My last name is German, but I can't speak it, so all you'll hear is English from me. But yeah, I do 2 channels. I do American movies and stuff on Koricon Nerd. And Koricon Nala, I do Indian films, all of the different languages, whether it be Tamil, Telugu, Kannada, Malayalam, Bengali, Marathi. Language doesn't matter to me. So I try my best. I don't always have time to get content up as fast and easy as everyone else, but I get stuff out there. So there you go.
Nice. All right. So first question I have for you guys, well, for you guys watching at home, I'll tell you this. You might be asking to yourself, why are there 4 white dudes talking about Indian cinema right now? I've reached out to quite a few YouTubers. I do have more episodes of this podcast planned with other people. There was one guy that wanted to be available today, but he couldn't, so we've postponed that for another time. The thing is with YouTubers, more often than not, they don't respond to me. I don't know why that is. I've reached out to quite a few channels that are bigger than me, channels that are smaller than me, channels that are the same size. I don't care. I'll collaborate with anyone. But unfortunately, yeah, people are a bit strange. I've had some interesting requests from people, but more often than not, they just don't respond, which is funny. A lot of people ask me to reach out to Jabby Coey. I would collaborate with Jabby Coey. I have nothing against it, but I don't think he would collaborate with me because I would probably ask him some questions he wouldn't be comfortable with. But, you know, I'm still open-minded to that. I'll start with you, Matt. Why Indian films? And I'll add a little bit more to that. Are you doing this just for views and to become famous and rich?
If I wanted to do this to become famous and rich, I would be famous and rich by now. I've been doing this for 3 years. No, I'm not doing this for views. If you've seen my channel, even the earlier stuff, I started with American movies. You know, in October of 2015. I was doing, the reason I started is I saw some reaction videos. I thought I could do that, and I tried, and I did very poorly. But I got better. And then in January of 2016, I had somebody send me the trailer for Bahubali and asked me to review it. The reason I had no problem with that is because my father has been a huge fan of Indian movies for probably the past 20 years. And it's always been in my house. I just didn't really watch that many of them with him. I would see one from time to time, like Gajini or Iga, you know, something like that. He really liked some of the older ones. He was always looking for really great tracking shots of like battles. And so I would watch those with him. So Indian movies and also Hong Kong, Japanese, all those kind of movies. My dad loved Jackie Chan. Before he was famous out here, he would ship over, you know, original VHS tapes of Drunken Master 2 and stuff like that. So international movies and subtitles have always been in my house. So when I got the Bahubali trailer sent to me, I was like, okay, sure, why not? And when I saw it, it blew me away because I didn't know that the cinematography level had gone up that high in Indian cinema. And so I was shocked. And the first thing I did was go and get the movie, and I reviewed it. Me and my dad sat down and watched Bahubali. He loved it as well. And after I reviewed the movie, what I didn't know, that was during the second wave of Indian reactors. I did not know about Jabby Kuwait and Bali Fools and Toma Puck and all of them until people told me about them. I was the only reactor of the time that actually watched the movie and reviewed it. And so I got a huge influx of followers after that. I was gaining like 1,000 subs a month for about 6 months. And it was insane. But I've never done anything for views. Like, my videos are usually longer. If I wanted views, I would keep them to about 5 minutes. But I end up reviewing and going through the trailer afterwards. And I pretty much just talk until I feel that I'm done talking. I don't keep track of time. I don't have pretty models on my channel. I'm just an old, fat, hairy guy that likes to talk about movies. So there's a lot of things that go against me being popular. If I wanted to be popular, I would be like really outgoing and excited. But I figure if I just be myself, then the audience will find me. And that's kind of how I treat it.
Yeah, that's exactly the same path I have taken. And that's the reason why, well, all you guys are on this podcast. I've been quite vocal about reactions. I personally don't like them. Like, it's okay that you guys do them. I don't like them, and I would never do them myself. But the difference between you guys and certain other YouTubers, pretty much most other, well, the ones that would class themselves as reactors, that's all they do. They literally just react all day, every day to trailers. Jabby Koei is one of them. There are plenty of others out there that don't just do like Indian cinema. They do other stuff as well. But what pisses me off about them is they watch these things with having no intention of ever seeing the film. And you guys actually, you'll react to something and then, you know, a few weeks later or a month later, oh, there's the review. So I'm okay with that. I've had people ask me to do reactions, but I just can't, I don't have that personality where I can just go over the top and, I don't know, maybe if I did a couple of lines of cocaine, I don't take drugs, but maybe that would help. Who knows?
Well, can I chime in on that?
Yes,
real
of
quick?
course.
So I agree with you on reaction channels that what they need to do, especially when you look at copyright laws, is they need to be transformative and add something of value to the video. Otherwise, you're just, you know, you're just stealing a trailer, which I don't really see a movie trailer as something that can be copyrighted just because it's promotional material. It's marketing. They pay people to show it. So I don't understand why they would get angry if we're promoting it. But anyway, if you just watch the trailer and you have like in the beginning, hey, you should subscribe to my channel, and then you react, and then afterwards you're like, that was cool, make sure to hit the like button, and that's all you do, what's the point? You're not adding any value to that. What I'd like to do is, if you cut out the reaction of my video, it would not change the value of it. So I want my review part to be longer than the actual trailer. I want to analyze things, talk about color and lighting and cinematography and little tips and things of what I think is going to be in the story. So when and I've done this in the past where I get a copyright block I'll just cut the reaction out, and it doesn't really change the content at all. It's as if I just reviewed the trailer. So there's a huge difference between reaction channels and reaction review channels. And I consider myself more of a review channel. Now, I may not be able to see all the movies that I react to, and what I've been doing lately is I'll do a live stream and just do live reactions to whatever trailers people ask me to do, as long as I can do it. But I think you need to add the value and have just the reaction part be a little cherry on top. That's kind of nice, but not needed.
Right. Cool. Jimmy and Dennis, over to you guys.
Okay.
Why Indian cinema?
So let me first start with saying that it was very similar with Matt, because Bahubali was also our movie that pretty much drove us into doing Indian cinema. I also started a channel 3 years ago with American movies. I did some international movies as well, because as I said, we are living in Austria. So I did some Austrian movies, German movies, also some stuff from France. And then there was this guy, I want to give him a shout out, Shritan Varma. He commented my 1,000 subscribers video and asked if I could do Indian reviews and if I have seen Bahubali. And of course I haven't. I pretty much had no connection to Indian cinema before. And then it was in the beginning of last year, I finally saw Bahubali, the beginning, and it totally blew me away. Like Matt said, the cinematography was so crazy and the movie had so much energy. And after I've watched it, I've told Dennis about it. Dennis has a little bit more of a connection to Bollywood, I think.
Yeah, well, I always had an interest for Indian movies because, yeah, well, it's like this in the 90s. Indian movies in Germany came on TV, but it were always on these on these channels where there's always just garbage the whole day. You can only see garbage, and if you switch to the channel, you always see Shah Rukh Khan singing something and dancing, and you thought, what the hell is this? What the hell is this? And I guess when I was studying at the university here in Vienna, I went to a lecture about Bollywood movies, and that's when it started. I guess it's 2007 or 2008 or something. And I saw Mother India, and I saw some 70s movies with Amitabh Bachchan, and the interest grew. And then I saw Yoda Akbar, a movie that I really, really liked. I guess it's 10 years old maybe. Or so. I haven't seen it since, so maybe that changed. But when he saw Bahubali and he told me, hey, you have to watch this crazy movie. And yeah, well, I watched it, and then we got this idea of doing reviews. And well, I'm more of the guy who just shows up once a week, shows up and writes a little bit of the text, and then
yeah. I'm still doing most American releases each week. But we said, let's do one Indian movie review each week at least. And I think since the beginning of this year, we are doing that. And to make something clear, of course, we know Bahubali is not Bollywood. We know that. That was a big mistake because in our review, we called it Buddy, because he's Dennis the Buddy Master. Buddy loves Bollywood, Bahubali movie review, which was a big mistake because, of course, it's Telugu language, which we addressed in the review, but like it is on YouTube.
The only comment that we got is that, dudes, it's not Bollywood. And yeah, we know it was a mistake.
So that's how we got into it. And since then, there was so much feedback, so much positivity from the guys. And like it is with your channels, we get so many movie recommendations, what we should watch and review. And there are also people who ask that we react to trailers, but we are not doing trailer reactions. I only did one trailer reaction in my life for Captain America Civil War, which was terrible. I felt so awkward with it. And as Matt is saying, when there's a review part, trailer reaction plus review, that's totally fine. But I also can't stand just trailer reactions because it's such lazy content, I think. And so we only do movie reviews on the channel.
Right. People are telling me in the chat that there's too much buffering. Matt, how's it looking?
There is a lot of buffering.
Oh, is there?
Yeah. It's from what I see, it has a funny picture of me with my hands in the air trying to laugh, and it's buffering.
Oh, that's no good.
Let's see. I'm gonna try and reload it.
My internet connection is fine.
Oh, tell him to reload it, because I just reloaded and it looks... Oh, it's choppy, but it looks okay.
Sorry, guys. This is what happens.
Well, guys, in the future...
Australia.
In the future, guys, if it starts buffering for a little too long, just refresh your screen so it reloads.
Yeah. Sorry about that. It's the beauty of Australian internet. What can I say? So have you guys... Has the feedback mostly been positive for you? Reviewing cinema? I'll start with you, Matt. Reviewing Indian cinema. Has it been mostly positive?
Yeah. I mean, I've had some crazy responses, you know, with getting interviews and production companies. Like recently, Red Chili's Entertainment, their VFX department and their color grading department retweeted my trailer reaction review for Zero because they were impressed with my analysis of their trailer, which was crazy. And, you know, interviewing Madhavan, director and co-writer of Breathe, Amit Saad, Raju Singh. I've interviewed a few other people, like the producer of Days of Borpora. So the response that I've been getting has really surprised me. I wasn't expecting that. But ever since the beginning when I did Bahubali, most of the feedback has been very positive. And one of the things that I've had people tell me, and I don't know how true this is. I'm not going to make any kind of assumption of the majority of like Indian critics and film reviewers. But a lot of my subscribers, when they talk about my reviews, they love the fact that it's an honest review from my opinion. I tend to be more optimistic, so I do give higher grades than most people do for the most part, unless I absolutely hate the movie. And from what I understand, a lot of the Indian reviewers that are very popular, they're either paid by the studio to, you know, give positive reviews, or they hate everything. And so they want the attention of being a negative reviewer. But the amount of like honest reviewers for mainstream Indian reviewers is very thin. And so the audience is looking for other people, and whether or not they're from America or not makes no difference. Another thing is a lot of Indians love American cinema as well. Like they watch American movies just as much as they watch Indian movies. And so to get the point of view of what does an American think kind of makes sense. You know, it's like, well, what does an Indian think of American movies? I would be interested in that as well. I don't have the time to go seeking those kind of reviewers, but if you know of any, I would like to see it. I've seen a couple. I've had some fans send me reviews of American movies from online, like YouTube, internet reviewers. But that's the main thing, is I think most people that are attracted to our channels are just kind of curious about, you know, well, what does this foreigner think of our movies?
Yeah. It's funny. I've had interesting reactions from people. I'm quite vocal, particularly here in Australia. Like I boycotted Sanju because of my thoughts on Sanjay Dutt. I've boycotted the Indian Film Festival of Melbourne because I think it's one big sham. It's just shambles. It's just a scam. That's how I think of it. And I'm quite open about that. I've been quite, like, maybe I'm too honest and that's my problem. But it's funny. I don't know if you guys have had this, but I've had people comment on things, and I'm assuming these are very nationalistic, right-wing Indian people that are basically saying things like, "Oh, Indians they feel inferior to the white man, so they have to go seek the white man's approval." But it's funny. I've never had anyone say anything like that. Like, I've been doing this for over 4 years now. I've been reviewing cinema from all over Asia. I have a job on TV presenting a South Korean, you know, it's only small, it's not a big show, but I'm presenting South Korean cinema to people in Hong Kong, Indonesia, Singapore. I've reviewed movies from China, everywhere. I have never once had somebody attack me for being, you know, for my race, for my background, whatever. Basically, you're not Indian, so keep your mouth shut. Don't talk about our movies. It's been scary, the amount of people that have attacked me. But there's been more positive stuff coming to me. But it's strange. I found that quite interesting, that there are people out there that have a lot of contempt for people outside of India reviewing Indian cinema. I've had a little bit with that from China, but I've been surprised just in the number of people that have sent me horrible emails, awful comments, things like that, basically attacking me personally because I talk about Asian cinema. And like, I come from a multicultural country. All the cinemas here play Indian movies, they play Filipino films, they play the big Hollywood films. It's just normal for us to go watch whatever. It's it's weird. And then I get attacked, you know, you're only doing this to make money. And it's like, I don't make any money. What are you talking about? This is YouTube. Yeah, I think you'd probably have to have, I don't know, you guys might think differently, but I would suspect you would need maybe 250 to 500,000 subscribers to actually make any, like, proper money from YouTube. Like, I don't even get enough money to cover my internet costs. So I'm definitely not doing it for the fame, because I've been doing it for years.
Yeah, I probably I spend more money on my channels than I make.
Oh, yeah.
Like, by
Absolutely,
far.
yes.
By far. Yeah. I think I've made enough money on YouTube in the past 3 years to maybe pay me back for my microphone and my webcam, and that would be it. Like, everything else that I paid for came out of pocket. But I do agree with you that you would have to be over 250,000 subs, but not just subs. You need the views that go along with it. So I would say if you're constantly getting over, I would say about 20 to 25,000 views, because it's usually 1%. Like, your retention rate of consistent viewers that have notifications on is going to be around 1% of your subscribers. So if you get about 25,000 views per video or more, then you would make enough to pay bills.
Yeah.
I think if you were to go full time on it, you would have to have outside sponsors and between 3 and 500,000 subscribers to be able to go full time. But you would need outside sponsors. You couldn't just do it with Google AdSense. It wouldn't work.
Yeah. So Jimmy and Dennis, have you guys had have you had any negative feedback, or has it been mostly positive for you?
It was mostly positive. I think the Indian community on YouTube is very, very engaged. And like you said, I think they really like the perspective of an outsider. And mostly we got many positive reviews, many movie recommendations, of course. There were some negative comments as well. Some people accusing us that we don't get the movie because we are not from India, which is, of course, true to a certain degree. There are always things that get lost in translation and normal cultural differences. But I don't want to let the accusation stand that you can't get a movie because you are not of a certain ethnicity. Otherwise, we could only review German movies and nothing else in the world, which is, of course, silly. But that's not, of course, that's not limited to the to Indian comments. Like I said, I've done many American movie reviews, and there was much more hate there. I did a review for a Tupac Shakur biopic called All Eyes on Me, which I didn't like at all. and I got so much hate. They call me a white Nazi, German pig, and so on. So that was really, really baffling. But from the Indian community so far, very positive, even if we don't like a movie that much. For example, we did see Sanju like 2 weeks ago, and we have many issues with the movie. But even that video got many thumbs up, many good comments.
There are always people who understand your opinion. It's never one-sided. And even with when our first negative review, or mostly negative review, was, I didn't like Baby that much with Akshay Kumar, and we were really afraid to do that review because I gave it only a 5 out of 10, and I was, what do people think? But it really was no problem. And the same with Duruvangal Partnere. It's the movie that I didn't like that much, and it was a little bit hate in some comments, but I guess 95% are positive. Yeah.
Well, I think if you are honest with your opinion and you explain why you think that way. I mean, a good reviewer is not just going to say the movie sucks and then that's it. Like, you've got to talk about details, what it is that you liked, what it is that you didn't, and then why. And as long as you explain that logically and it makes sense, the viewer doesn't mind if you don't like it. Like, they may disagree with you, and I always tell my viewers, I'm like, if you disagree with me, great, let's have a discussion about it. But if you start attacking me, then that means you don't have the intelligence to hold a discussion, and so I don't care what you think. My negative comments, I've had a few about being white. I've had some people confuse me with a British, which doesn't make sense because I don't sound British. But a lot of the people that are doing those attacks, they still feel, very negative towards Britain and what happened to India. And I totally understand that. It's still fairly new. I mean, it's only been like 60 years. However, just lashing out at somebody that wasn't alive at that time has nothing to do with it, and I'm not British. That doesn't make sense to me. Most of the hate I get is when someone disagrees with me and then they start calling me fat, and they fat shame me, or they fat ass, or you don't know what you're talking about, you're ugly, blah blah blah. Like, they always attack my physical appearance because it's very easy. But as soon as they do that, I'm like, that just means you're not smart enough to have an opinion. So I just block them. But it doesn't bother me. I've heard that shit my entire life. Like, it just rolls right off my shoulder. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm on the internet and I can't handle being called fat. I wouldn't be here. Like,
Well, that's the thing. People tell me, like, Corey, do you have any advice for me? I want to start a YouTube channel. You've inspired me to, like, create a channel where I talk about Korean drama or Indian drama or anime or something. And they say, what's the best advice you can give me? And I say, harden up, have a thick skin, because you can't, if you're going to put yourself out there, people are going to criticize you. And people are going to say mean things on the internet. Welcome to the internet, basically. But I get confused for a Brit all the time. And I find that funny because we don't like the British just as much as the Indians don't like the British. Like, Australians and Indians actually have not a lot in common, but we're actually quite close because we both play cricket, and Australian cricket players are very famous in India. There's a big Indian community here. It's funny when people, this British guy, blah blah blah. I'm like, I'm not British. I'm actually German too. Like, I wasn't born in Germany, but my grandparents were German. I can't speak a word of German, so don't even. But it's funny. So everybody has and people also ask me, why does like Hollywood like stereotype Indians all the time? And my answer to that is, why does Hollywood stereotype Australians all the time? Like Crocodile Dundee and all that stuff,
Crocodile Dundee is so awesome.
Maybe for you.
Out here it is.
Well, I haven't seen it in 20 years.
Yeah. All right. So, have you guys been approached by for sponsored content or anything like that, or paid content by any corporations or?
Who do you want to go
From
first?
India,
Oh,
no,
Matt, we'll
nothing
go with
so
you,
far.
Matt. Nothing for Jimmy, no. What about you, Matt? Have you been approached by hey, we'll pay you this if you do this or anything like that?
No, I have not been approached as a paid sponsor, but I have had tech companies want to send me products and ask me to review them. So, and I say that in the video. This is not a sponsored video, but I did get this for free. They wanted me to review it. And whenever you have a tech company or something like that, they always do that. They send it out for free to get a review. I guess they take the gamble that if you don't like it, but they'll send it to 20 people, 18 of them may like it and 2 of them won't. So they just highlight the 18 that like it, I guess. But the company, one of them, I'm trying to get the box, is Mayono. And they do microphones and stuff. This is their new wireless headset that I reviewed. But they had sent me a lavalier mics that I did a review for. And apparently they really liked my review because I was testing it. You know, I tested it outside in wind. I tested it in a car. I tested it all these different places. I wasn't really reviewing it as much as I was just using it in different spots and seeing how it sounded. But their investors were impressed by it, and so they wanted to send me more products. And I just did the same thing with this one that I did with the other one. I just took it outside. I took it to an office building so they could see what reverb would sound like, and then I put that up. But then they liked that one as well. So I've not been sponsored with money, but I have gotten free products out of it.
That's pretty cool. I've been approached by companies, but I always tell them no. So some of them have stopped. I got an email recently from a Korean beauty product company saying, "Would you like to be a what do they call it? Influencer?"
Yes,
That's the new term, which is just a joke as far as I think it's a joke.
You mean you don't want to start a makeup channel? I could totally see you with the round light on your face.
Yeah, do that thing where I'm testing.
Yeah.
That's the thing. It's like I know a lot of Korean guys wear makeup, but I don't wear makeup. I'm not that kind of guy.
So you're just naturally that beautiful? Is that
yeah, that's what it is, Matt. Yes.
It's only 720p.
What's up? Oh, it's only 720p. I've been approached by a few American companies saying, "Can you do trailer reactions for our movies? We'll send you free stuff." But same thing. I told them I don't do trailer reactions. There was one that was because I wear prescription glasses, they said, "Hey, we'll give you a free pair of glasses and we'll give your viewers 5% off if you promote our glasses." And I was like, I'm not doing that.
Yeah, actually, I did get approached by that company.
Ah, same one, yeah.
Yeah, that one I don't mind because what it is you're basically doing a sponsorship that's not connected to your content. So if I ever got sponsors, like a company that would pay me to sponsor my videos, I wouldn't want it to be a movie company because I'm reviewing movies. So if I take a sponsorship from Universal and I don't give any negative reviews to Universal movies, it's a thing.
Yeah.
But for glasses, they approached me. I didn't do it just because I've had the same glasses for 15 years. I don't see the reason I would get new ones, and I don't want to try and find my prescription. I'd have to go get... It's a big thing. I don't want to do it. But getting sponsored by a company like that, and then you get paid from people going and clicking the link. So when they save 5%, really that kind of 2.5 to 3% of that comes back to you. Boogie 2988 uses a lot of those, and they're basically, you get paid by people clicking on it. I don't think you and I or people that are under 250,000 subs are really going to make much money doing that anyway, because the majority of people are not going to click that link.
Yeah.
So you're not going to make a lot of money. But I don't see a problem with those. It's more of like, you know, putting a third-party commercial inside your review, and people would understand that, you know, if you can get paid, get paid. But just don't do anything that's going to go against what your content is. If I was reviewing glasses and they wanted me to sponsor my videos, I'd say no.
Yeah. Cool.
Are there channels that review glasses?
Probably. There's channels out there for everything, man. All right. Let's get to some viewer questions. Are you guys cool with that?
Sure.
All right. What have I got here? There's probably a lot. Guys, do you want to like hit us with your questions, please? I'll see if there's something on here. People talking about the BBC and how they don't like the BBC. I don't like the BBC. I don't like a lot of mainstream media, to be honest. Okay, Premiere Brothers. What is your opinions about Malayalam films? So let's start with Jimmy and Dennis. What do you think of Malayalam films?
Very broad question, of course. It depends on the specific movie. But I have to say that...
What Malayalam films have you guys seen?
Oh.
So we started with Drishyam.
Yeah.
A year ago, maybe half a year ago, and we really enjoyed that a lot. And from there was no return because we got so many Malayalam movie recommendations. We watched You're Better with the Names.
Yeah, we had a lot of movies with Fahad Fazil. We had Take Off, and we watched Io Binte Pushtakam and Ton di Mutalum Trixaxium. Yeah. And well, when I first got into Indian cinema, I didn't even know that there was something else in Bollywood. When I was a teenager, I thought, Bollywood, that's it. And after we discovered Malayalam cinema, I think the treasure chest of Indian cinema really opened for us, because there's so much to watch, and we get so much recommendations, and I think it probably is my favorite industry in India.
It's also the one we did the most movie reviews, I think, easily. It's Malayalam, then Hindi, then Telugu, probably without
and we did some Tamil movies, but I think Malayalam is, it's this treasure chest. You really can watch so much stuff, and I personally like Fahad Fazil very much since we discovered his movies.
And we really have to catch up with more Malayalam movies because we only seen one, Drishyam, I think. Yeah.
And well, the Mammootty movie we watched, the first Mammootty movie we watched was Avaminte Santatika, called, and you know how.
Yeah,
I did my review of that. Didn't go down too well with a lot of people, but what do you?
But an aspect I really enjoy about Malayalam cinema is the locations, because they are often shot in Kerala, and that place looks absolutely stunning on film. I think it looks even more stunning when you're there, probably. But it's such a great location, especially in Io Binte Pustakam. Yeah. It's such a beautiful shot movie. Yeah.
Cool. How about you, Matt?
Sorry, I thought I heard someone knocking.
Oh, you're right.
Oh. Anyway, I haven't been able to see any Malayalam films yet, just because our movie theaters out here mostly show Hindi, Telugu, and Tamil. Every once in a while, it's very rare that we would get Malayalam. So I think we've had like a Bengali movie here or there, and then very rarely Kannada, but we haven't had any Marathi movies. And so I try to focus on more new movies, something I can get to the theater to see. And so I haven't been able to see any Malayalam films. And I do want to get into seeing more older movies, but I just don't have the time. And so I do the best I can with the time that I have. And most people understand that, but they get annoyed and pissed off because I'm not reviewing every Indian movie that comes out. But I do want to get into some, like I've seen a lot of Kannada short films. and they're great. I haven't seen too many Malayalam short films. They're mostly features. I would like to see some. Hopefully, sometime in the future, I'll be able to get to a consistent increased rate of seeing older movies so that I can jump around to the different industries.
How is the cinema going experience for you when you go watch these movies in the theater?
Well, first of all, we are very lucky that they are showing Indian movies here, because I think we live in Vienna, which is the capital of Austria. I think in no other town in Austria you could even see movies like this. And in Vienna, there are 2 cinemas that show Indian movies. I would say there's at least one every 2 weeks coming out. Mostly the big Hindi movies, but also some stuff from Punjab.
Yeah.
And sometimes Malayalam cinema as well. And we are most of the time we are the only non-Indian guys at the cinema, and I think most people think that we are in the wrong auditorium.
Same thing.
I actually had that happen to me when I went to see that Mammootty film that came out recently. It was packed. It was a sold-out show. It was in a big theater. The organizers of that, that put the films in the theaters here in Australia, they actually contacted me and said, "Hey, come along, we'll save a seat for you." I walked in, and this lady, as I was walking in, she had her kid. They were trying to find their seats, and I walk up, and she said, "Oh, I don't think this movie is for you." I'm like, "Oh no, I'm here. I've been invited here." And she's like, "Really?" I'm like, "Yeah." And it's hard for me to explain what I actually do, so I'm just like, "Oh, I'm just here with friends. It's fine." Matt, what about you?
Well, when I go to the theater, it is the same thing. Plus, I get more looks because I'm a really big guy. Like, I'm 6'2", and I've lost some weight, but I weigh about 325-ish. And so when I walk into a room, people notice the size, and then they notice I'm not Indian. So it's like this really big white guy just kind of wandered into our theater. What the hell is going on? When I went to see Bahubali 2, I actually went with some fans. They invited me to go and see it with them in Denver. And so I kind of was able to go with a group of people, and I didn't get any looks. But when I went to go see Padmavat, it was like really a lot of confusion, and people expecting me to leave as soon as the movie started, when I realized I'm in the wrong theater or something. But yeah, I mean, my theater experiences though out here is my theater is really far away. I live in a town that doesn't show Indian movies, and so I have to travel at least, let's say, a minimum of 1 hour to see an Indian movie. Most of them show in South Denver, so it's about an hour to an hour and a half. Sometimes 2 hours if there's a lot of traffic, but I try and go during movie times when there's not traffic in the city. And so for me, it's difficult to find time because the movie is probably going to be around 2.5 to 3 hours, and then three hours of driving. I mean, I'd have to cut an entire day out just to go and watch one movie. And then if you include reviewing and editing and all of that stuff, it's like a 12-hour process. And I don't really have that kind of time. So when I have a day off, I usually look to see what movies are showing and if any of them are somewhat close. So if one of them is showing at a theater half an hour away, which is rare, then I try and go and see that one. Otherwise, it has to be a really big event for me to go. That's why I vlog a lot of the times before my movie review, because I'm like, I got to get something more out of this. And at least show people why it's difficult for me to go and see these movies. But I love doing it, and so I do it. But I should try and review more movies at home, just because, I haven't been able to see a movie in the theater, I think, for Indian movies since Padmavat, unless I did another one. I'm trying to remember. But it's been a while. So it's hard for me, but I do try and go.
Yeah, that's dedication, man. An hour to 2 hours drive. See, I'm spoiled. I can just go, to the like I live relatively close to the CBD, so there's a theater there. There's another one. There's like in Australia, like I said earlier in the stream, like these movies are pretty easy. You know, the big Bollywood ones all play, but then, you know, we do get the Tamil ones, Malayalam ones. Not many Bengali films, unfortunately. How else do you guys access Indian cinema? For me, I have Netflix, Amazon Prime, Hotstar. I also have Stan, which is another Australian-only streaming service. We have SBS on demand here in Australia. So I have quite a lot of legal online ways to get them. What is it like in Austria?
Well, Netflix is a good option here as well in Austria. There are many Indian movies on Netflix here. And it was also the reason why I even got Netflix, because normally I don't watch that much of their program. But then I saw that they have a bunch of Indian movies, older stuff from the 90s and also newer stuff from like a year ago. And so I tried out Netflix and we catch many movies there.
There is some stuff on YouTube as well but it's probably, but the thing is, here in Vienna we have all these kind of these little shops in the city where you can buy all kinds of Indian food and drinks and DVDs, but it's mostly older stuff and the quality isn't that great. And but yeah, it's mostly through Netflix. Some things are on Amazon Prime, but
also with Amazon Prime. With the Amazon Prime US, where most stuff is, we can't access that here in Austria. We could get an VPN, I think it is called, but it's difficult. And
yeah, even then you have to have a credit card that's registered to an American address.
Okay.
Because I have Amazon, but I have Australian Amazon Prime. Actually, recently the Australian government, sorry to cut you guys off, but recently the Australian government stopped imports from any Amazon that isn't Amazon Australia. So I was actually importing a lot of DVDs and Blu-rays from the UK, from India, from the US. Now I have no access to those.
What?
They just cut it off? Is that even legal?
Yeah, they cut it. We can't access it.
So you can't order anything from Amazon.com?
Only Amazon.com.au, because the Australian government has now charged a 10% import tax. And the CEO of Amazon told the Australian government to go shove it. So now we only have Amazon.com.au, which of course limits things to inside Australia. And if they're imports that somebody has purchased themselves, obviously the price is 5 times what I would pay elsewhere. So that's really screwed me. eBay sellers. There are a lot of eBay sellers that are still shipping to Australia, but again, there's that 10% markup, and then they know that it's harder for Australians to get a hold of stuff.
Of course,
they're going to charge us more, obviously. So it's a thorn in my side at the moment. So I get so many requests. Hey, watch this, and I can't. Blame my government. But apparently, we live in a democracy and it's very free in Australia. It's not like North Korea or China at all.
Do you get to see them on like Amazon Prime and Netflix?
Yes, but we have the Australian versions, which, as you can imagine, they're like 5% of what they have in the United States. So you might have access to things that are on Amazon in the United States, and you might recommend it. Matt, you might email me and say, hey, Corey, you should check this out, but it won't be playing on Netflix in Australia.
Whoa, I didn't know that.
So, yeah.
Yeah, most people don't know that. Most people recommend stuff and say it's on Amazon Prime or use this link.
Yeah.
And then I click on the link and it's no, not in your country, sorry.
Yeah, even with a VPN doesn't work. I've tried.
Okay.
Because the Australian government even cracks down on that stuff with VPNs. And that's the thing. I tried to register for Amazon Prime US, but they were like, you need to have a credit card that is from the United States to be able to do this.
Wow.
So, I know. They make it hard for me, man. They make it very hard for me. But everybody thinks Australia is like It's a beautiful country. It's a nice place, but it's probably one of the most expensive places in the world to live. And the government does have a lot of control over arts and entertainment. Like we get video games and things banned here all the time. All the time.
That was in Germany also always so. Now in Austria, it's way more liberal when it comes to arts. But growing up in Germany, there were movies banned, video games banned. Now the situation is a little bit better, but back when we grew up, it was quite annoying.
All right, let's move on to the next questions. We'll go to Matt this time. Do you think South Indian movies maintain a higher standard compared to Bollywood?
So when you're talking about like comparing the industries, you know, there's a lot of people that want to know if the quality is the same. Like I would argue that South Indian films, whether it be Tamil, Telugu, Kannada, and Malayalam, some of the best cinematographers in the world are coming out of South India. Like they've got some crazy good cinematographers. Even the lowest of budget movies have some amazing shots. Like Amazon Obajan, which was, I think that was a Bengali film. The trailer alone had some beautiful shots, and they filmed it in the Amazon. Like they traveled over there to film it there. I think South Indian movies are trying to utilize the budget that they have. Now, the Hindi films, or what you would call Bollywood, the Hindi films have more money just to spend on movies. And so the quality of like lighting and production and editing and all of that stuff is a little higher just because they can pay more for it. I think South Indian films are increasing in their budgets, which is increasing the quality of the movies. So I don't like to say that one industry is better than another because they're all good in different ways. Like I don't consider Indian movies better than American movies because most of our movies suck. It's just the good ones get distributed around the world. So, and not even that. I mean, there's a lot of bad ones that get distributed as well. And I don't like it when I have fans that ask me to compare Indian movies with American movies, because I'm like, you don't want to do that. We have too many problems with our movies, you know, of like releasing crap because they put a big budget into it, but they don't spend any time writing it, you know. I like movies that have an interesting storyline, have interesting characters, and I think every language has that. That being said, you know, some of these South Indian movies are spending a lot of money, and they're taking huge risks. Like with Bahubali, parts 1 and 2, that was a big risk. Not as much for Bahubali 2, but for Bahubali the beginning, that was a huge risk because that was a gigantic budget. For the sequel, it's justified because you're making a sequel of the first movie. For 2.0, you know, for Robot 2.0, they are taking a huge gamble, especially with all of the problems that they've been having with post-production, that it's really increasing and inflating the budget. However, if it works, that means some of these South Indian investors are going, and maybe even outside foreign investors, will start investing in some South Indian films that would increase the production cost, the production value. So, I don't know. I don't like the idea or the question of automatically assuming South Indian movies are not as good as Hindi films, or assuming that one country has better movies than another. It's all about how much money you have and how you utilize it. From my point of view, all Indian movies are subtitles, and so I don't really care what language it's in. The language does not matter to me at all. It's more of, is it interesting? Was there passion behind it? You know, if it's a movie like, I didn't see Race 3, but I've heard a lot about it. And if you have a big budget and you make a movie, but you don't put any effort into it, there's no passion behind it, the movie's going to suck. I don't care how big your budget is. You know, look at John Carter. That movie cost so much money and it flopped. But if you put in a lot of passion like they did with Bahubali, or you put in a lot of passion into a film like 2.0, you're taking these huge risks. I think it will pay off.
Cool. Jimmy, Dennis, what do you think?
Yeah, not much to add. I honestly have to say, I don't ever look up the budget of a movie. So either I like the movie or I don't like it. I mean, when it's super cheap, of course you will notice it. But I'm pretty sure there are big movies with a big budget that also looks very cheap. For example, I just saw Viridi Wedding a few weeks ago. And I guess that it has a high budget, but it looks like a soap opera. It's absolutely lazy looking, and the editing was awful as well. And a small independent production like Sairat, for example, which is a Marathi movie. Again, I don't know the budget, but I can't imagine that it's high because they're all non-professional actors. And it looks stunning. It's well acted. There's a lot of passion behind it. The script is good. And a good script doesn't cost a lot of money. If you have someone with talent who can write, he can write a good story. And when the script is fine, it's a good first step. And like Matt said, there are many talented director of cinematographers in South India. And
when you think about how cheap those movies are in comparison to Hollywood movies, and again, it's this. Well, even the big blockbusters in Bollywood are compared to Hollywood cinema are cheap, and the South Indian movies are even cheaper. And what they are
able to do
with that is really impressive.
Well, some of these South Indian actors make like 5 to 7 movies a year, which is insane. It's insane.
Yeah,
not all of them
has like 415 acting credits.
Crazy, yeah. Mohanlal's is about 300. Is it over 300 or something? It's crazy. Like the amount of work these guys put in. Me personally, I do prefer South Indian cinema over Bollywood. Mainly because Bollywood, it's not the movies themselves. It's kind of like the industry as a whole. It's one of the reasons why I don't like Hollywood movies all that much. I guess it's the criminal behavior behind a lot of these films and the dirtiness of the industry. I guess that's why I'm not the biggest fan. Okay, what have we got here? What do you guys think when it comes to movies? What is important? Story, direction, or technicalities, or is it the acting that can influence the success of a flick? Personally, for me, I think it's a combination of these things, but I really think you need a good story to begin with. Otherwise, you have no movie if you don't have a good story. Matt, what do you think on that?
Well, it's always story. So even if you have a story that is similar to every other story, you at least need to have good enough writing that the characters are engaging. So if you have good characterization and your characters are engaging enough to where you want to see what happens to them, if the story is the same as another movie or is very stereotypical and you kind of know where the story's going to go, you can still follow the character because you like the character. So I think you have to have good characterization, well-written characters that's well acted, and story would be in there as well. And because if you have a really good story but your characters aren't engaging, you don't care because you have no emotional involvement in the movie. After that, the technical aspects is basically just what brings it all together. I like analyzing the technical aspects and I appreciate the art that goes into making that. But if you don't have a good story, it can be the most beautiful movie ever made, but I'll be bored out of my mind.
Yeah, it's all interconnected. I think it's the story, the characters, but also the storytelling. How is the story presented? And is it something fresh or something you have seen a million times before? And it also depends on the movie. There can be movies that I watch for the acting primarily because it's a character piece. And the actual plot isn't that important. And then there can be a movie that I watch mostly for just entertainment value. Something like Bahubali. The story is good, the characters are good, but I would say the style, the energy of director S.S. Rajamouli and the whole team is the thing I look forward to when I watch Bahubali. The music, the cinematography, that's also extremely important with a movie like that.
And I guess what we noticed was that the editing is sometimes a big problem with not. I guess it's for the whole Indian industry. I guess in the 70s there were these movies with Amitabh Bachchan when you thought, yeah, they're funny and they're entertaining, but the editing is it's so choppy. But as long as the story is good, just when you have Bahubali or the actors are good, I think you can see past stuff like that. The editing it doesn't really matter. And yeah, well, I guess that's it.
Also, music is a big thing I always look forward to. We just saw a movie, our first Kannada movie called Titi, that has no music at all, and we absolutely loved that movie. But normally I'm quite a big fan of those songs and dance numbers. Of course, they have to fit the movie. There are movies from India that doesn't feature any songs, and that's perfectly fine as well if it's a more serious one, for example. But normally, even if I don't like a movie that much, for example, Tube Light with Salman Khan was quite mediocre, to say the least. But at least it got two very good songs to it that stuck in my mind and that I could take away from the movie, even if I didn't like the story, the characters, and the acting that much.
Cool.
I got another thing on this. Whenever someone asks me about starting a YouTube channel or whatnot, and I always point out audio is what's important. So when it comes to movies, if the technical filming of it, if your resolution is really low, you don't have the best cameras, maybe you're filming it on a cell phone, the visual part of it people will easily forgive. But if it sounds really bad, they won't watch it. So if you're making a YouTube video, a short film, a movie, anything, people will forgive the visuals before they'll forgive audio. And then if your acting is bad and the story is subpar, they can still kind of forgive that if they enjoy the characters, but just don't skimp on that audio.
Yeah, this brings us into the next question, actually. Any common problems you see in Indian movies? For me, as somebody with a music background, I often find that the sound mix is really off when it comes to sound effects, music. That recent Mammootty film comes to mind. There were just moments where the score just overpowered what was actually happening in the scene. Some of the sound effects weren't mixed properly, and I think for me, when it comes to Indian cinema, that's the biggest issue I have, is the sound mix. More often than not, it's not mixed very well. What about you guys?
I actually have a reason for that.
Yeah.
For many movies in India, people are, cheering. They're very loud in the theater, and so you can't hear it.
Right.
And a lot of people have told me that, because I had complained about that. Why is the music so loud? Like, the dialogue is not that loud. And they were saying, well, we can't hear the music because everybody is cheering too much. So now that usually is only like opening weekend or maybe the first day. After that, you don't need that anymore. But I would agree with you. There's some movies like I reviewed Shavai, and the ADR was horrible. Like it sounded like they had their face right up to the microphone, and you could hear every pa 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 that was in there, and it was all grainy. I didn't understand why the ADR was so bad. And so for that, the visuals for that movie were stunning. The cinematography looked amazing in Shavai. But that ADR was so bad that the audio pulled me out of the movie. And so I ended up not liking it as much as I should have.
Yeah. Jimmy, Dennis?
Yeah, for what
common
notion
problems for you? The sound?
Also the sound mixing, yeah. Even with a great movie like Iga, for example, from S.S. Rajamouli, it sounded it sounded fine. The music was good, the voice was good, but there were almost no sound effects in the whole movie. It was like you're watching a silent movie, and then there are some people talking, but no sound effects. And I don't know if it's maybe because some actors speak a different language on set, maybe, and it's all dubbed in that particular case, for example. I'm not sure. And also, as we mentioned, the editing is sometimes subpar compared to other movies from other industries.
Sometimes it's fun because, well, I don't. It's fun to wait. Again, we have Race 3, for example, where almost anything is bad, and even when they have the money and make this big movie, the editing is so it's really like you put the movie on a chop block and to cut it out. It's
the scene transitions are sometimes very awkward and off-putting.
Yeah,
you have to kind of recollect and reorientate and to know where exactly you are right now.
Yeah,
and also the Mammootty movie had flashbacks within flashbacks, and I was baffled, and you had at least some clue what was going on.
Yeah, and we could talk because it was so loud.
Yeah, we could talk in the cinema because it was so loud. All movies in Austria, all Indian movies, are screened at a volume that's totally insane. There was a movie, Mensal, where I put Mersal, where I put something in my ears because otherwise my head would have exploded.
Cool. All right. I'll just find another one. Actually, Matt, I want to ask you the question, what we were talking about beforehand. You've had the pleasure of actually interviewing some very famous and interesting people from Indian cinema. Would you like to discuss how that happened?
Okay. So people that are on my channel probably have heard this story, but I did a trailer reaction and review for the Amazon Prime show Breathe with Madhavan Amit Saad, and I liked it. The trailer looked cool, and I did my review part that I always do. So I think my video ended up being like 15 minutes or something, and in my review part, I was analyzing sequences and saying, oh, I think this happens at this point and this happens at this point. And then I put it on all of my social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Well, Madhavan retweeted my reaction and with a message that's, because I had complained in the video that I can't afford Amazon Prime. So I was like, it's too much stuff to pay for. I don't have money to do all this. And Madhavan retweeted it and said, dude, you are spot on in your review of the trailer. Allow me to buy your Amazon Prime account so you can review the show as a thank you for traveling to see Vikram Vedha. And what he was referencing was I reviewed Vikram Vedha, which was his movie last year. And before it, I had a little travel vlog because at the time I didn't have a car. And so I had to take a bus and a train down to South Denver. It was a 2-hour ride to go and see the movie. And I had fun with the vlog, you know, just kind of messing around. But apparently he saw that review last year. And I didn't know that he had seen some of my videos. And sure enough, he had Amazon contact me. They gave me a free Amazon Prime India account. And I was able to watch the show, and I reviewed every episode. But actually what was funny, and I didn't tell you this, but I was, you know, I'm emailing with Madhavan about it. And I told him, yeah, I'm going to review every episode. And he's like, every episode? Maybe you should just review, like, the season, you know, when it's over. He's like, that's a lot of reviews. And I'm like, yeah, but I want to review, like, every episode. He's like, all right. And I told him, well, you've got episodes coming out once a week, you know, and it would be good. People like to talk about all of this kind of stuff. And per episode, they want to know what you thought. And my reviews of each episode ended up being like a half an hour long. And after he saw a few of them, he understood. He's like, oh, okay, I see what you're doing there. That makes sense that you're analyzing. And I wanted to like kind of guess what was going to happen because I review the episode before I watch the next one. And then Amit Saad was in that. I had asked Madhavan when I was emailing him, I said, look, I would be remiss if I didn't ask this. You know, I wouldn't be doing my job. Would you do an interview for my channel? And he said, oh yeah, sure, of course, but let's do it after the season is over. And I was like, of course we can do it after the season. I want to be able to ask you questions about it. And so when the season was over, we connected. He had just had his shoulder surgery, and this was before he took the flight to America to go to Los Angeles for a thing, and then ended up going to Alabama to film a little bit, or at least visit the set. He did something with Zero because they were filming at the NASA Center in Alabama. But before that, he did the interview with me, and he was kind of complaining about his shoulder, but he was doing good. And then, and then the writer and the director and the co-writer of Breathe, they were impressed with my reviews of the episodes, and so the writer, Vikram Tooley, he likes to message me on Twitter. And so I asked them for it was funny, I asked Vikram Tooley for an interview, and he said, do you mind if I bring the director on because he co-wrote the show? And I was like, oh, of course. Like, of course I want to talk to the director. Like, what are you asking me that for? So it was cool that they both did that interview. And then Amit Saad, it took a little longer because he went pretty much directly into filming Gold with Akshay Kumar. And so I had to wait until he was done with his principal photography and had some free time. But then we finally got that interview. And then through Vikram Tooley, I got to interview Raju Singh and some other people. It's just been a lot of fun. But it is crazy to think that, you know, I can email Madhavan and just be like, hey, how are you doing today? You know, it's you know, I can text Amit Saad. Like, he texted me the new poster for Gold, and I was like, oh, that's cool. And I was at work at the time, you know, and I made a little joke with him. I was like, it's cool to see you clean shaven and sober, you know, because he had a beard and he was an alcoholic and Breathe. And he's like, ha, 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 be nice. But what I found out later is, you know, I go on my lunch break and I go on Twitter, and all of the news outlets are talking about the new poster for Gold. And so I was like, oh, Amit Saad sent me the poster for Gold like a little bit before it got released. That's pretty crazy, you know. And it was so nonchalant, just like a text message. Hey, check out my new poster. You know, it's weird. It's weird to be, you know, kind of friends with these celebrities. I don't know how much they like think about that, but just to have that access to where I can email Madhavan at any time and say whatever, or I can text Amit Saad and just say hello. It's weird. From my point of view, it's a little weird, but it's cool. They're very down to earth, very, very nice guys.
Yeah, I had the opportunity of meeting Mohanlal recently.
I saw that picture.
Yeah, he was lovely too. That's something I've noticed. Like, I haven't really had any interactions with too many actors and directors. I've had a few. I don't have Twitter, but I've had a few retweet my things and then send me a message or on Facebook or whatever and say thank you for this, and it's really nice to have that. And I haven't really had that from a lot of people. I've had that from a few like South Korean directors, you know, and that's about it really. But I've noticed the people involved, like the really down-to-earth people involved in the Indian film industry, are very supportive of, you know, our YouTube channels and things like that. I have a super chat here, guys. $2 from Louisville Blues. I know we won't spend it all at once. Who's your favorite writer director from South? I'm assuming you mean South India. For me, it's Anjali Menon, who wrote Ustad Hotel, wrote and directed Bangalore Days, has a new movie coming out here in Australia next weekend. I'll be there around this time next week watching her latest film. I really like her. She is somebody that worked really hard to get to where she is. She wasn't just born into a family like a lot of people in a lot of these industries are. She went to university. She studied her ass off. She worked really hard. She wrote a lot, and I really like her, and I think she's very inspiring. What about Jimmy and Dennis? Favorite writer director from the South?
Extremely, extremely easy. It has to be S.S. Rajamouli for me. Not just because he was the entry point for our growing love for Indian cinema, but also because his movies are like no other movies I've ever seen. We started with Bahubali, then of course watched Bahubali 2. And then we watched Eager because it was recommended to us, which is a movie about a guy that gets killed, but is then reincarnated as a fly, as a housefly, who will take revenge. And the story alone is so crazy. I know it's not, it's based on a short movie or on a short story, so the idea was there. But the way he tells that story on this big scale, on this big epic scale, is fantastic. And
he also made this Maryada Ramana with Sunil, and I like that one very much because it showed that, well, he didn't always make these, you know him from these big blockbusters, but this one is pretty small in scope, and I like that very much. And yeah, because we haven't watched that much Indian movies in the year, in this year we do this together, but I think we saw the most of Rajamouli, and that's why he's number one, I guess. Yeah,
I think he will stay number one no matter what.
Cool. What about you, Matt?
So I don't have favorites of anything because I try to stay neutral so that none of my reviews are biased. However, that being said, another reason is because I don't know everybody. Like, there's probably a better director than the guy that I would say is my favorite. But I would have to kind of agree with Jimmy that S.S. Rajamouli, just because he was my entry point as well. And yeah, Iga really sticks out in my head because I had not seen anything like that. That was just a crazy movie. I'm like, you're basically watching, you know, Man on Fire or The Equalizer, except instead of Denzel Washington, it's a housefly. And you're like, what the hell is going on? So that, yeah, I like S.S. Rajamouli. I like the cinematographer that he uses. Them combined have some amazing visuals. And the writing is good. I mean, I wouldn't say it's the absolute best writing ever, but it is good. But I'm sure that there's probably other directors, and the people will tell us who is better than, and their opinion. But I try to stay away from saying favorites of this or that, because there's a lot of stuff I haven't seen. And so maybe I'll see something down the road that is now my new favorite thing. And I don't want to go into a movie with fanboy blinders. You know, I try and go in and be as neutral as possible. And so if I tell myself I don't have a favorite of anything, then I'm always open to being neutral when I go and see a movie, and I don't have those fanboy blinders on.
Yeah, it's a good way to go into movies. I try to just go in open-minded to just about everything I watch. I don't really watch trailers or read other reviews. I've had people tell me, like, after I've given a review to something, you should read other people's reviews before you give your review. It's like, no, that makes no sense. Why would I do that?
No, I refuse to look at any reviews before I see a movie.
Yeah.
And like, if I know that people are going to be talking about a movie, you know, like a new Marvel movie or something that is obviously going to be online, I won't even go on social media. So like, I refuse to look at any messages. I won't look at any posts until I've seen the movie. And after I review it, then I'll go back, because I'm interested to see what other people think, but I'm not going to listen to it or even give it any attention until after I've already given my views, so that I don't get biased. Just like why I don't like favorites of things. I don't want the fanboy blinders. I also don't want any of my opinions to be influenced by someone else's opinions.
Cool. Just going through the thing. I felt bad when Corey when he met Swara Baxkar. She was all right. I met her in Hong Kong recently. She was nice to me. I don't agree with her, obviously, on a lot of things, but she was fine and she was willing to engage in a conversation, and that's all I can ask from people. I did give her my card, but she, I don't think she'd be interested in being interviewed by me. What else have we got? How are we going for time? We might cap this off soon. What have we got? 5:20. We might give it another 20 minutes. I want to keep this thing under 2 hours.
Get your questions in.
Yeah, guys, get your questions here. There's a lot of favorite Indian this, favorite Indian that, and there's no, after what Matt just said, there's no point asking those questions anymore.
Well, you guys
Yeah,
can
it's really
answer
hard
them.
to answer.
Well, I don't really have a favorite script, or that's a weird one. Favorite Indian script.
Unless you read them, it's very hard to answer.
Yeah, there's a lot of talk here about sacred games.
Yes.
I'm actually reading the book at the moment, and if you guys have seen the book, I don't actually have it in here. It's actually in my bedroom. The book is like this. It's like almost 1,000 pages. It's like a telephone book. It's so heavy. I was sitting there in bed last night reading it, and I was like, oh my God, I don't know if I can hold this up any longer. But I want to finish reading the book before I even look at an episode. I haven't even watched a trailer for it. I just want to read the book, and then I will eventually look at the series, and I might do a comparison video or something. I'm not sure. But you guys, without spoiling anything, your thoughts, or have you watched it?
I've watched the first episode yesterday because it was also recommended to me, and it's on Netflix, and I liked it a lot. It was very intriguing, but so far I can't say that much. It was only 15 minutes, the first 15 minutes. I don't know how many episodes there are, like 10 maybe. But
Yeah, I think it's like
story,
8 or something.
7.
the story is quite good so far. It has a little bit, after just the first episode, I was reminded of Saw, just because of that game the villain, the antagonist, is playing with the main protagonist. It was a very twisted game, at least from the first episode. So I'm looking forward to watch the other ones.
I haven't seen it.
What about you, Matt? Have you made any videos about it or plan to make any videos?
Yeah, I'm going to be reviewing every episode like I did with Breathe. And so I saw the first episode, and I was like, wow, okay, I didn't know that they would go there, and they did. So I'm quite happy. But I will be reviewing that first episode, and then I will watch the next episode and review that, and so on. I want my reviews to also be kind of speculation kind of thing, even though all the episodes are out. I just like the whole can I figure it out thing. And then when I'm wrong, I'm wrong. You know, people tell me. They have fun telling me I'm wrong, which is fine. But I do want to review every episode just like I did with Breathe. And one unique thing is they have an English dubbed version on Netflix.
Oh, I won't be watching that. No.
I won't. I didn't either. But I found it interesting that they released it with an English dub. A lot of times you don't get English dubs until like years later, or once it's on a Blu-ray or something. And so I want to do a video where I compare the first episode. That's the only one I'm willing to watch in an English dub, but watch the first episode again with the English dub and then compare the two so that I can explain to people why I think dubbing is not that great. Especially when you're trying to be a reviewer and you need to analyze performances. Even if you don't speak the language, you're going to get cadence and tone and all of this stuff that you're going to be able to analyze through a performance that you won't get if you watch a dubbed version. So I always try and watch subtitles and hear the performance the way that the actor did it. Because that's half the performance, is just how they say something.
Yeah. We have a super chat that we will get to, but I want to follow that up with a question I get. The question I get asked the most, particularly when I go to film festivals or screenings, and occasionally people recognize who I am, and they ask me, how do you understand this movie? And more often than not, I find that really condescending, because you don't speak the language. How do you understand the movie? And it's like, how does anyone understand any movie? Like, do I need to be a mafia don or involved in the mafia to understand Goodfellas? Do I need to be a boxer to understand Raging Bull? Like, I don't understand that question. But for me, my answer to that usually is, if it's a good story, if the acting is, if it's to a high standard, then it's not really up to me to understand. It's up to the people involved making the thing to make me understand. And I don't know. Have you guys ever been asked that?
Yeah. So for me,
Yes.
when someone has asked me that, I tell them, look, we're all human beings, and we're all attracted.
Yeah, exactly.
We're all attracted to the same stories, whether it be love and romance, action, sci-fi, anything like that. If you had to live through something to be able to understand it in a movie, then I wouldn't understand Star Wars because I'm not a Jedi. It doesn't make any sense why we would be able to understand fantasy or science fiction or any kind of fiction in general. Everything we watch would have to be a documentary about something we went through. Now, there are things that are regional that we may not understand, like something that is specific to a region that they point out or they talk about, like a local politics or a local person or a local area. But it only takes a little bit of time and effort to learn about it. A lot of the times in the past few years where I would review a movie or a trailer, I do this all the time, where I'll just be like, I'm not sure what they mean there, and what is that? And then they tell me in the comments, what I love about my Indian subscribers and my Indian friends is that they understand that I'm not going to know what that is, that one specific reference. And then when I ask it, they have no problem giving me the details and telling me about it and not being condescending about it. They're not, being like, oh, stupid American doesn't know what it means. Well, there are some that do that, but the majority of people are, they're happy that I'm interested. And so they will explain it to me. And then, I understand it. It's not that difficult to be able to understand those references. You may need a little bit of help with it, but once you get it, you got it for all the future movies as well. So I don't think there's a big deal with that. I can read the subtitles, and all movies are done in the same way. They have very similar stories. It's easy to predict a lot of things no matter what language it's in, because all of the stories are very similar. There's not very many original stories that don't follow a current format.
Yeah. Jimmy, Dennis, do you guys get asked that question?
Yeah, well, sometimes when we don't like a movie, there are always people who say we simply didn't get it. But it's also the case with American movies, where there's really no language barrier. Of course, there are some things that will get lost in translation, as you said, some nuances or regional stuff. There are always things like that. But normally it's not a big complaint. And as Matt was saying, people know that we are not from India, and they know that there are things we probably don't understand right away. But it's also storytelling is storytelling, and when it's done in a good way, you will understand.
It's a universal thing.
It's a universal thing,
exactly.
exactly.
Well,
there was a movie.
Yeah, sorry.
I want to point out it was a very fun theater experience, because normally when we go to the cinema and watch Indian movies, there are English subtitles, and they are pretty good. But sometimes there are German subtitles for those Indian movies, and the movies are released on the exact same day all over the world. And there were German subtitles for the movie Karib Single with Irfan Khan, where they simply took the English subtitles
Google
and
Translate.
translated each word one by one, and it was hilarious. It was
best movie ever.
It was the best theater experience ever. We laughed our asses off, and because something like "what's cooking," it's not something you say in German, so it doesn't make any sense. And most of the time we were quite baffled, and it was really fun.
Yeah, most of the time we were just thinking about what they really mean. So we were translating the German subtitles back to English and trying to figure out what they're saying. Yeah.
My God, I want to learn German just so I can experience that. That would be awesome.
Yeah.
All right, let's get to the super chat question from Eric Webb. Eric asks, what are some stories or themes that are unique to Indian cinema that you have come to really appreciate? For me, there's often this family dynamic within a lot of movies, you know, reconnecting with family. Ustad Hotel, that movie really moved me. You've got this young guy, he doesn't really know what to do with his life. He has a bad relationship with his father. He connects with his grandfather through cooking, and you know, I like that. And that's not unique exactly to Indian cinema, but it's quite common, and I like that. What about you, Jimmy? Dennis?
I think there are also many movies that have social issues, that address social issues, like for example Padman, which is a biopic about a guy who invented a sanitary pad machine because it was a big problem in rural India that women couldn't afford sanitary pads. And it's also a big taboo to even speak about that. And that a big movie, a big Bollywood movie even, addresses something like this and tells it in a fashion that everybody can relate to it is something quite cool, I think. There are also many movies, like, for example, Three Idiots or Charlie, that feature a protagonist who is a little bit different, who is acting outside the social norms and rules. I think that's something that we've seen many times.
It's this topic with you may be different, but it's nothing bad, and you can be whatever you want. It's with so many movies where this is a topic. But I think what I like about Indian cinema in general, a thing that brought me into it is this, maybe it's this more obvious way to show emotions or show love or show it's that it feels more like a movie sometimes. So they don't try to be subtle. They just show you how it is. They show the eyes of someone who's in love, and they show how he spins his head, and it's sometimes sometimes I just love the way how obvious it is, and that's not meant in a degrading way. I love that it feels like a movie, and I guess that's pretty unique for Indian cinema.
Cool, Matt.
So there's a lot of movies there's a few movies in America that have like a small town feel to it, where you have a collage of characters. But there's a lot of Indian movies that do that, where you have a whole bunch of characters in one location or one town, and you feel like you're a part of this city. Rangasthalam was a recent one that I saw. I wasn't a big fan of the ending, and I went into that in my review, but the core of the movie, where you had this town and all of these different characters that they did some great characterization with, you fell in love with the town itself. The town was almost its own character. There's a lot of Indian movies that do that, where you have multiple characters that you end up falling in love with the group instead of just an individual character. But also a lot of Indian films that have the song and dance included in the movie. I'm not a big fan of what I call the music video, where they have a music video that they filmed before that they're using for the marketing purposes, and then they just drop it in the movie at some random moment. I don't like that. However, I really do like the song and dance sequences that are good, that take place on set with the characters during that situation. One of the examples I use all the time is Rajnikanth in Basha. In the beginning, the first song sequence is with the auto drivers. I guess you would call it not just the taxi, but they have the three-wheeled bikes. The auto drivers, they were having their scene, and then they go into this song and dance, but they're still on location. they're dancing and singing with the auto drivers, which is awesome because they're all like hairy guys and not print, you know, they're not clean. And then it just flowed right out of that into the story. So you had a nice flow in, music, and then out. And it reminded me a lot of like many of the musicals that we had in the US in the early part of the 19th century. 20th century, sorry, the early 1900s. We had a lot of musicals, and we just don't have those anymore. And so when a song is really good and it makes sense to have it in that part of the movie, it's not distracting from the story, and it takes place on set, I love it. And we just don't get very much of that anymore. So I see many of those musical moments, something that I miss out of cinema that I think can add a lot of value if it's done right.
Yeah, I think the best song and dance numbers are the ones that really move the story along or underline a certain theme. For example, Three Idiots has this All Is Well sequence that is really all about what the movie is all about. And later on there's Zooby Dooby, which is this love theme. And both of them are an integral part of the story. And so they are great.
Man, another thing that I really like is that many of those actors and actresses are these all-rounders. It's just like in the 20s or 30s in Hollywood, so they can well, they don't always sing themselves, but they can dance, they can act, they can do everything, and there's this power and energy, and they show what they got, and I love that. I really love that.
We have a name for people like that in Australia. Hugh Jackman.
Yeah, not the Hemsworth brothers, just Hugh Jackman.
Oh, no, they can't. Well, Chris is all right. What's the other one? Liam. Liam. Oh, he can't act to save himself. All right, well, we might leave it there. We've been going for quite some time, and there's the lag and all that stuff, but I apologize for my terrible internet. Our connection has been fine.
Well,
I just don't know what's happening with YouTube.
I'm going to send you a video.
Yeah, that would be good, man. I might just upload that one once I have it. If you can Dropbox it. Do you have Dropbox?
I'll just put it on my Google Play or my Google Drive. I'll send you a link. You can download it.
Excellent. I'll download it and re-upload it. That way people can watch a decent copy of it. Well, thank you very much for joining me, guys. Thanks. This is kind of like the first one of these. We'll be doing more. Next month, I hope to have some different people on, and then, you know, we'll mix it up. We might bring Jimmy and Dennis back with somebody else, and then Matt back with another person. I know a lot of people have been saying in the comments, do this once a week.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think we all have that amount of time, guys. We would love to. If we could all do YouTube full time, I'm sure we would all be more than happy to do this once a week or once a fortnight. But unfortunately, we all have jobs and other things to do. But yeah, we will definitely do more of these. Jimmy, Dennis, would you like to plug your channel?
Yeah, of course. You can find it at the JimmyCage on YouTube. You can also find me on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at the JimmyCage, and that's about it.
Yeah, and I'm at the Bodymeister on Twitter, just on Twitter, and well, I'm on YouTube. I also have a podcast about film music, and yeah, well, you can find all of this out at the Bodymeister on Twitter.
Awesome. Do you guys have anything coming up that you'd like to plug?
I think, well, we're watching in the midst of watching Magadira from SS Rajamouli. Maybe this one will be our next review, and
there will also be another episode of Buddy Loves Bollywood, which is this huge special review format that is over 30 minutes long, and we are finally doing PK, but I can't say anything more when this will be finished because it's a lot of work.
Awesome. Somebody asked me about a rehash episode. I'll get to what I'm doing very shortly. Matt, would you like to just plug your stuff?
Yeah, I've got 2 YouTube channels, Koricon Nala and Koricon Nerd. Nerd is American, Nala is Indian movies. I also have a SoundCloud where I turn a lot of things into podcasts, and I'm on Facebook and Twitter of @Koricon. I'm on Instagram as @KoriconProd for productions. And everything is really on Koricon.net. So anything you want to see is going to be there. But yeah, I'm all over. Just type in Koricon, it'll come up. I mean, it's a unique name, so if you Google Koricon, all my stuff just lists out. It's kind of nice.
Cool. Well, maybe Matt, you can take the audio from this and put it on your SoundCloud or something if you have the time. That would be great.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I can do that.
Excellent. Cool. Do you have anything coming up that you want to give people a sneak peek at?
Well, I am going to be doing those reviews for Sacred Games, and I might have 2 interviews.
Oh.
I'm working on it. I can't really announce who they are yet, but well, fingers crossed. I really want these 2 interviews to happen because I think they would be a lot of fun. I think it might actually be more fun for me than it would be for people to watch them. But I really want to do these interviews, so I'm hoping it happens.
Well done, man. Awesome. Well, for me, somebody asked me about a rehash episode. Nathan and I haven't had a chance to put anything together for a while. He's been busy, but we do have something planned. There's something I've got coming up that I can't tell anyone about yet. But that's going to be around, I don't know, it could be next week, could be a month's time, I'm not sure. But there's something very special that's going to happen, and I need to have that linked with the next rehash, which will be an Indian movie. It is the remake of, or rip-off of, the classic South Korean film A Bittersweet Life. That's all I can say for now, but we have something very special planned for that. 49,000 subscribers I'm almost at. I am going to, my Patreon people know this, but I will be releasing an old song of mine. I haven't made it, but a fan of the channel made a music video just using, I think it was an old horror film that is like copyright free, so there's nothing to worry about there. They've done like a karaoke thing, so you can see the lyrics come up as the song plays. So that'll get released around the 49,000 mark. 50,000 subscribers. I'm in the process of working out a film clip for a music video for a new song that I've written. I haven't done music for such a long time. I've had a song that I've been working on for a couple of years, and I think I'm ready to release that. All my old stuff, don't buy it off Amazon, don't buy it off iTunes. I don't see a cent of that. Go download it illegally. This is the only time I will promote piracy on my channel, and it's when you take my own stuff. I own it. You guys can download it. It's fine. I don't care. But yeah, this week is going to be South India week for my channel, so I'm looking at films from South India. Hatsumi has donated $20. Thank you so much for that. That's amazing. She says, thanks, guys. Thank you very much. Really appreciate it. Well, thank you all for joining me on this. Hopefully next time we do it, the internet works better, and we'll actually have a topic that we will talk about. I just thought for the first episode, we'll just get to know each other, talk about each other's channels, all that kind of stuff. And that's what we'll be doing next month with the 2 very special ladies I have. I've been accused of this channel being a sausage fest, so I've reached out to some more ladies, and they've actually gotten back to me. So yeah, thank you all for watching. Really appreciate it. You guys have a great day, morning, wherever. We'll see you soon.
Bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye. Ciao.
Stop broadcast. Hang on. It's stopping.